So this is Porthos. He is just about ready to be saddled up. Today I'm kind of going to go over things you can do to prepare your horse for the saddle. So he used to really shy away from this, from the halter too, but now he'll dip his nose right down in it. And to do that, it just takes work. If you got a horse that isn't wanting to get his nose in the halter, just keep bringing him towards it whenever he wants to look away, and he'll eventually seek that out. So he used to be really worried about stuff coming up and touching him too. But now if I bring my hand up, he knows what's happening. So he just sinks right down and lets me pet him. Porthos came to us as an owner surrender a few months ago. As far as we know, they haven't had much handling. The 3 that came in, the other 2 that came in with him. But it looks like at one point he had a pretty significant injury to his face. It looks like his left nasal passage right here by his eye is completely collapsed. And that eye is actually a little bit lower than his right eye. And then also he's got this big scar on his lip that he's a little touchy about, but we've been working on letting him know it's okay for me to be touching there. So I'm thinking somebody probably started him but didn't do all their homework and ended up ripping that bit right out of his mouth and causing that injury. And he probably ran into a wall or a panel or something, and that's how he hurt his face there. So when we first got him, he was really fearful. He's doing a lot better with me. When you first go up to catch him in the pasture, though, he still has that same fear response, his head held high. But then as soon as you get up to him and you start petting him, he settles right down. So today I'm going to be going over kind of what you would do to get your horse prepared to be under saddle. There's a lot of things that I like to see my horses check out on before I put the saddle on, just to make sure that they're ready, I'm not pushing them too far, and that they actually retain the information. Because if you just stress them out, it's very likely that they won't retain anything that you're doing. So the first thing I like to do when I get a horse in here is I want it to be able to back off of me, off of light pressure. So I'll take my hand right here on this knot, and I'll just go side to side. He's really good at that. When you're first starting out with this, it's going to be a lot different. So that's the goal, to barely have any pressure. But when you're first starting, you start off with that light pressure and you build up as you need to. And you can get pretty big with this until they figure it out. But if you do it right and you give the right releases, they figure it out pretty quick. So another thing that I want my horses to check out on is being able to lower their head. Just take one hand down here on the knot, other hand up here on the head, and just apply pressure down on both until it drops. And then release that pressure when they do. Now if I get a really good drop here, I'll quit on this. He's doing a little bit there. That was a little. And with this, you got to reward that slightest try. If they go down 1/8 of an inch, you want to reward that. We'll do one more time here. And sometimes you're applying like maybe a 1/2 pound of pressure. Other times you're going to be applying a lot more pressure. But always start out with the light pressure and then build your way up. That's how you get them to be nice and soft off of light pressure. So now that he's doing that, another thing I want them to do is be able to disengage their hindquarters. I'll just lift this rope up right here and kind of step towards his flank until he steps over with that hind end. I'll do that a couple times here. And he checks out pretty good on that. We'll do the same thing on the other side. He's stepping behind. That was the right step right there. So I'll just walk him out of that like nothing happened. Another thing we can do here is shoulders. I'll just get him to step away and then walk off when he does. Do the same thing on this side. That was good. The next thing I want to do is flexion. And literally all I'm going to ask the horse to do is turn his head towards me. And when he tries, I'll give back to him. He's looking way over there. There he goes. Now he's looking at me. What's up, buddy? What are you doing? And then from here, I can also work on hindquarters. I'll put my hand down kind of where my foot would be if I was asking the horse to step his hindquarters over after I get the flexion. If you try to do both at the same time, they'll just start anticipating you and then stepping that hindquarter over when you don't want them to. So always make sure you get that flexion first before you ask for them to step over either their shoulders or their hindquarters so they're not anticipating what you want. Because sometimes I might just want them to turn their head. Might be on a trail ride and there might be a car coming up. I just want him to turn and look at the car. I don't want him to start moving his whole body around. I'll keep asking here. That was a try. That was a try. That was a better try right there. So then I'll ask for the hindquarters. And you stepped, so now release both that pressure. You could also do this with the shoulders, just get them to flex away from you. Same thing, wait until you get that flexion before you ask. Right there. And I put my hand down kind of right by his cinch area. I want that outside leg to step over and the inside leg to step across. There we go. Good job, buddy. We'll do that on this side. Good job, buddy. So he used to be a lot more reactive when I was doing this stuff. If I put any pressure on him, he'd be shooting himself to the moon trying to get out of there. So when you're first starting out picking up their feet, you might need to use a rope. He's getting pretty good. I'll just drop that lead rope right there. And I've always got a hoof pick candy. One of our supporters actually gave this to me. Easy. You're talkative today, buddy. Have that. Yeah. So all this stuff is really important before you hop on and ride. In my opinion, if you can't get your horse's feet picked up, you shouldn't be riding it. You should be focusing on getting that done. The reason this is important for you to get done is because it's not your farrier's job to train your horse. If you got to get your horse's feet trimmed and you can't even pick up your horse's feet, it's not very nice to the farrier. So the next thing I want to do is an exercise called changing eyes. You're okay, buddy. I'm just going to take my time with this. And me being able to do this, just bring that rope up over his head, will help me prepare him to get the bit in his mouth eventually. So he's going to turn his butt. Yeah. And flip it over. You're going to catch his butt. Step back and just have him turn around there. And you want them to do that calmly. If they're flying around there, then you probably missed something with desensitizing, so you might want to go back and just work on stuff being around his butt, and touching him back there. And this exercise, it actually helps free up their body, free up their hind end, free up their shoulders. And if anyone ever ropes off of this horse and the rope gets behind the horse, it's used to that pressure being back there, and it knows how to get away from that pressure. It knows how to get itself out of a position where it could potentially get in a wreck. I was on this horse one time packing out in the Sierra Nevadas, and two dirt bikes came cruising down the corner, and I had a string of about 3 mules behind me. And my horse was not very good at that, the one I was riding. So he was spinning around, getting tangled up in the ropes, and I just kept passing the rope back and forth behind me and in front of me so I wouldn't get wrapped up. But once we got to the next campsite, I definitely worked on this a little bit with him. Yeah. So it's really important to do things on both sides of your horse. The way that horses' vision actually works is what they see on one side does not transfer to the other side. So you got to check them out on both sides. The only time that they're actually using both of their eyes is if they're looking straight on at you. So right here, he's using binocular vision. And I can't remember what the other vision is called, but when I'm over here, he can only see me with this side. So he might be okay with me on this side, and I might come over here, and it's a different story because he's never seen me just out of this eye before. So make sure that you do things on both sides. Isn't that right? Yeah. So the next thing, thank you. The next thing I'm gonna be doing, thanks. You done? So the next thing I'm going to be doing is working on an exercise called sending around. A lot of people call it lunging, but the way I was taught, it's sending your horse around you. This is a good thing to teach them, especially before you get up and do your fence work, because you have to send them around you off of the fence when you're up there. And if they're not good at it on the ground, you try to do it on the fence, they might rip you off the fence. So I'm going to start off by just holding my hand out in the direction I want them to go. Put some pressure on and have them start going around. So you always start off with the lightest pressure possible. With the lightest pressure possible with this is just holding your hand out here. And then if they're not going, you might bump it a little bit. And if they're not going after you're bumping a little bit, that's when you'd come in and reinforce with the lead rope. Now, I'm not saying smack your horse with your lead rope. What you can do is you can start swinging it right there by their butt until they go around. There you go, buddy. So while I'm doing this, I want them to be focusing on me with their inside ear. I want their eye to be on me, and I want their nose to be tipped a little bit to the inside. And I also want them stepping over in their hind end. So you want them to kind of be stepping underneath themselves there. The way you can do that, I want you to keep going around and hold my hand out here. I'll kiss a little bit at him. You're just bumping up on that lead rope before that hind end leaves the ground. So this inside back foot, before it leaves the ground, I'm gonna bump up. And that'll get them to step over. All right there, that was good, buddy. Now I'll go off the other way. And something I see a lot with this is people backing up when they're doing this. And if you back up while you're trying to do this stuff with your horse, it's just showing your horse that they could push you around. So if you wonder why your horse is being super pushy with you, go back to this and see what you're doing. If you're backing up, make a change in yourself. You got to be going towards your horse at all times. To start off with your fence work, you want to get them to lead up to you. He says, I'm not too sure about that, buddy. So every time he takes a step, I want to give him a little bit of a break. And for horses, that break is that release of pressure. When every time you release that pressure on them, that's pretty much telling them, yeah, that's what I want you to do. Now, that's not always the case, because sometimes they can get away from you and be up on the other side of the pen licking and chewing because they got a release, but they didn't get the release when you wanted to give it to them. They got their own. So that's something to pay attention to. Make sure that they're learning some good things and not just getting away with a bunch of stuff. Just because they're licking and chewing doesn't mean it's good. Yep. So I'm going to take one more step here, right there. Good job, buddy. So after you can get them to lead up to you on the fence, that's when you'd start working on getting them to get parallel with you here. So you'll actually send them around off the fence and then bring them back through here. And it's okay to start over with this. I mean, this isn't something that, you know, you need to expect to get done in, you know, a day, 10 minutes. This takes a while. So this is about the 4th time I've been up on the fence with him. And this is the fastest he's ever gotten this close and parallel to me. So he is making progress. And if you want them to step up while they're right there, you're going to take your rope and you're going to bump up until they take a step. Bump up until they take their step. So now if they go past you, that's fine. Don't get frustrated. Just start over. Send them back over there and bring them back through. If you get frustrated with these guys, they will just shut down. That's something you have to be pretty cautious of, because they can shut down on you pretty quick. And once they shut down, they're done learning for that day. Good job, buddy. So he almost had it there. We'll get him right back around. Good. So I probably won't get exactly to the point where he's ready for me to throw a leg over today, and that's fine. I'm going to find a good spot to end here in a minute, just with him getting up and parallel to me without trying to walk past me. It might take a couple more tries. I might get it on this try. I don't know yet. Go again. So if he wasn't doing very good with the sending around there on the ground, if he's flying around, not paying attention and pulling on the lead, then when you get up here, he's going to be doing the same exact thing. He's going to pull you right off the fence. So make sure you have that good. Good. I'll give him a big break right here. Let him think about all this. Give him a second. I'm just going to ask for one step. Maybe that front foot to come up to me a little bit. I saw his weight start to shift. Good. Good boy. Get one more step here. Don't step backwards. No, that's not what we're doing. Good job. One more step. Let's get that other front foot up here. What do you think? Can we do that? Good job. So this is probably the best spot for me to end right now. I can try to get another step, but he might just end up stepping over again, and then I'd be starting over. So we'll give him this win right here. I'll just stay up here a little bit longer and pet on him, let him know this is exactly where I want him to be. I'll ask him to back up. And then I'll get ready to step on down. Good job, buddy. And that is everything that you'd want to do to get your horse prepared for the saddle. There are other things that you can do to get them used to your cinch pressure, like using this lead rope and just wrapping it around where the cinch would go and where the back cinch would go. But basic groundwork stuff, that's about everything that you'd want to do. You'll also want to do some desensitizing, take a feed sack, rub them down with it, make sure you start off with it small. Probably end up doing a desensitizing video at some point in the future. And we'll really show you everything you can do with that. But other than that, that's it for Porthos today. And I hope you all enjoy.